Well, let's now turn to tech services provider X2M Connect, saw revenue jump by half from the same time a year ago amid continued growth across core markets. South Korea remained a key growth market. Well, Mohan Jesudason, Chief Executive of X2M Connect, spoke to Nadine earlier.
It's been a very good half year and a better quarter as well. So, Q1 revenue growth of 25%, Q2 65%. Gross margin up 63%. OPEX running on a normalised basis at about 6%. EBITDA losses progressively coming down, and cash burn coming down. In fact, we had positive cash flow in the quarter. And on the balance sheet, we've materially reduced our debt levels. So you've got a company with that's delivering on a whole bunch of key matrices that will then go to future value. And all our markets are growing. And of course, our very first market, South Korea, is the standout. It's over 90% of our business, where we are the incumbent operator for about 54 or 5 municipalities and cities in that country.
It's incredible, isn't it? So are you concerned at all that you've got almost key person risk? You're very heavily weighted towards South Korea. How are you planning to diversify that in the future?
Look, we've got 18 people on the ground. We have got a very strong MD. Importantly, we have a very strong second tier there as well. All our key people are shareholders in the company, and they're very well invested, and many of them have invested their own money in addition to this employment arrangements that we might have. So we don't take anything for granted, but I think we've got our key people very well locked into the company. And of course, management 101, when it comes to your people, you work on driving employee satisfaction, and that improves retention. We hardly ever lose. I can't remember when we last lost a staff member. And of course, if you drive employee satisfaction as day follows night, you drive performance, productivity, profitability.
Okay, and you've made a number of strategic shifts over the past few years to bring yourself to this point. Just talk us through some of them, because you're a software company that allows for internet connectivity, so the Internet of Things. Is there sort of a risk with AI, or are you an AI enabler?
We're absolutely the latter. We're an AI enabler. Look, the strategic shift is this. We began life rolling out smart meters, and we were doing that very efficiently and effectively across South Korea, Japan, Taiwan, and the common thread of those countries is that they are highly advanced technologically. Our capability is that we can suck up data from any machine or any device or any sensor on the one platform, have them communicate with each other and control each other without any human intervention. And we can do that cheaply, quickly, and efficiently. And so that's lent itself very, very well for a world that's hungry for data, whether it be for artificial intelligence or machine learning or a range of automation applications. So, our product suite sits very nicely in that smart city ecosystem. And typically we are digitizing meters, we're removing meter readers, we're collecting data for load management and grid management, we're managing renewable energy generators and battery storage systems, street lights. The customer that owns the water also owns the street lights that are on our platform. And of course, most recently we released Help Me for the City of Seoul, which is a public safety device, where they're going to roll out 1 million of these, and the first mandate was for 100,000, and we secured that mandate.
Okay, and so where do you see most of the growth coming from? Like, do you have to sort of pick a focal point, whether that be utilities or whether that be safety, or can you do it all?
Look, our platform can go into any vertical market. Businesses that I've run have been successful in part because we've been laser-like focused about the markets that we want to be in. The market that we are targeting is the smart city market. And so whether it be waste management or water management or gas management or renewable energy management or public safety, that all fits into that ecosystem, and often the customer is the same customer. So for the foreseeable future, they're the markets that we'll be focused in. Where we'll diverge is in our geographic footprint. So what we do in Korea, we're now going to do in Japan, and what we do for gas monitoring in Japan, we're doing in Taiwan and the UAE. So we'll broaden our geographic footprint, but we'll stay laser-like focused on those key markets that we're currently in.
Do you have levers, Mohan, that you can pull to focus on margins and increasing margins?
Yeah, so this is what I'd call management 101. You've got all the traditional levers. So let me start with business development. So your lever then is your sales force capability, the channels that you have, your go-to-market strategy, the brands that you've got, and it doesn't matter whether you're in technology or fine foods. That's CEO focuses on those areas. Then when it comes to margin, a good business is always reviewing its cost base, and there are two components to our cost base. One is operations and people. And we've got about 48 people, and we can scale this business to 3-4 times this size with that labour force. And then it's the cost of your product, and forever we are simplifying our product, we're fine-tuning it, and that allows us to reduce our retail prices, as we did in Korea by 20-25%, but to maintain and grow our margins. And in fact, our bundled margins in the last 4 years have gone from about 20% to the mid-40s, and our software margins are running at 85 to 95%.
It sounds like everything is going well. So do you have, Mohan, a firm outlook? What are you expecting in the second half of the year?
So, Nadine, the business is travelling well, and as you would know, it's never a walk in the park. And it's about focus and capability and people executing on what they're doing. This category is a very, very large category. And so when I look forwards, this is where our growth is going to come from. Our existing customers, we've got about 88 enterprise and government customers. They represent an addressable market of over $500 million of upfront revenues and about $40 to $50 million of annual recurring revenues. And we can be a very profitable company just harvesting that customer base. And about 30% of our revenues are now just repeat orders coming through every few days. The next stage of growth is then deeper penetration into our new markets. Australia is actually a new market for us. The UAE, Japan Water. Japan Water is a very, very good example. So we are in gas logistics management in Japan with Asbil Kimon. We're now moving into the water sector, taking to Japan what we're doing in Korea. Japan's a 60 million metre market. The SaaS revenues we estimate, the annual SaaS revenues we estimate to be about $100 million per annum. And so a small market share of that becomes a very profitable piece of business for us. So growth will come from deeper penetration into our existing customer base, deeper penetration into the markets that we're in, and then new geographies that we will tap. We're interested in the Indian market, we're interested in the US, and we're doing work in those markets all these early days as yet. And we've got 3 flagship products, Vision, that's into utility management, Hive.ai, which is an AI package for renewable energy generators. Every country on this planet is focused on renewable energy and help in the public safety area. And if any of you are familiar with Live 360, there's a perfect companion to that very successful offering.
So, Mohan, how do we look? How does X2M Connect look in, say, 5 years? Global domination?
So that would be a lovely dream to have. When we set up this business, we had a 3-horizon model. Horizon 1, 2013 to 16, was really building the platform, validating it, getting into everyone's labs, all the main telcos labs. And then the next 4 or 5 years was a land and grab. Lock yourself a large base of enterprise and government customers with very large consumer bases. And that's where we focused on the utility sector, and initially APAC and now Asia. And if I look forward 4 or 5 years, that takes us into Horizon 3, which is about scaling up this business. getting to profitability, getting into cash flow, being cash flow positive, and it's a company where, as you can grow your revenues 40-50%, which only very modest cost growth, so it's highly leverageable. And so if you look at 4 or 5 years, you should expect to see a company that is off scale, is profitable, delivering free cash flows, and one that would be very very attractive.